Hi there everyone, I hope you are doing fine. Today I am adding a new layer on top of all the different video types I've been offering you up until now because I've decided to start translating all the Q&A sessions that I make on my French channel. All the questions that I receive on my Instagram story, you can also ask yours if you want, even if the Instagram account is French. Please feel free to go visit the Rodsters TV account, and if you have any kind of question, you can ask them in English and I'll be happy to answer them on those videos that I will be doing from now on all the Sundays and publish them in Mondays. So first of all, the first thing I wanted to do is to go back to the motorcycle news we've been having on the channel during the last week. And so there are some very interesting things. First of all, you had the review of the Ducati Monster, which is 100% real review, not done with AI. It is the very first of all the new videos I will be doing from now on. So you have my honest opinion on this motorcycle. The views are starting to get quite good compared to the other videos that I've been doing up until now. So that shows that there's some interest on this. So tell me in the comments if that's something that you would like to see appear a bit more. There is also a very interesting video about KTM announcing two new sports bike which will thicken a bit their sports bike lineup, which was up until now kind of thin, I must admit, with a 790RC and a 490RC. Very interesting video. And last of all, I've made a top 5 from my 5 favorite CF Moto motorcycles. If you didn't check this video up until now, please feel free to go there. So the first question is always usually something a bit more personal so you can learn to know me, and it was Reptile Cove that asked, do you prefer riding solo or in a group on rides? So it is kind of an interesting question because that shows a bit of who you are, of course, in terms of motorcycle riding preferences. And in my personal case, even if I like from time to time to ride with friends, I must admit that I am kind of the lone wolf type, and riding my motorcycle, taking my motorcycle, be it for professional or personal reasons, is always kind of, you know, meditation type of activity, something that I really like to be with myself alone with my motorcycle. So I usually tend to rather enjoy being alone when I'm riding my motorcycle, but from time to time, like I said, I always enjoy taking the bike for a spin with the friends or the girlfriend. But usually I tend to be much more at ease when there is no one with me when I'm doing my rides. Tell me in the comments which type are you? Do you prefer riding alone on your motorcycle or with a group of friends? That's something that really interests me. So first real question by Rémi Rouquette, which is a French, of course, nickname. When is the test ride of the 990R? So by 990R, of course, he is referring to the KTM 990 Duke R. And I have very good news because my main KTM dealership partner has received a demo version of the KTM 990 Duke R. And so I will probably be able to take the bike somewhere in the next few days, I would say, and release the review before the end of August. And that goes, of course, for this channel, for the Rodsters TV World channel also, because I will be doing the review in French and also in English. So I am really hoping that you are looking forward to this review, because the 990 Duke R is a very, very interesting machine. Of course, we have, first of all, the new looks that come directly from the 990 Duke, which are very, very much inspired from the 1390 Super Duke R. And now we have also the 790 Duke, the new version, which is also inspired from this headlamp kind of design. And we also have some interesting modifications compared to the original model. The most interesting one for me, the most appealing one, must be the TFT screen, because it is directly the same one as the 990 RCR, and so not the same screen, not the same dash screen you can find on the standard version of the 990 Duke, which is kind of something that KTM hasn't really done up until now, making two different versions of their motorcycles and changing the screens, but they are taking advantage of the new technologies they've been putting on the 990 RCR, and those kind of screens are becoming very popular, namely with the new Panigale V4, which use that super wide type of screen, using namely I think they call that like a glued type of glass, or there's a specific name for that, which really improves visibility and readability on the screen. So looking forward to this very much. And there are also many other modifications, one of them being the engine, the LC8C, which goes up to 130 HP, which is a lot, and 105 Newton meters of torque, turning this machine into a proper beast. And there are also some very serious upgrades to the fork, this one being WP Apex Pro, and we also have Style M Brembo calipers, which are of course way better than the ones you can find on the standard 990 Duke. So as I was saying, the machine will probably be picked by me at the dealership in the next days, and I will be able to release the video before the end of August. So if you are looking forward to this review, tell me in the comments. Next question from AZN BKA. Hello Rodsters TV, do you think Yamaha could release a CP3 with a supercharger? And that is a super interesting topic, because as you may know from all the major 4 manufacturers from Japan, I would say that Yamaha is probably the one that is the most lacking in terms of real news, because from Honda and Kawasaki standpoint, there are many things that have been evolving recently. Kawasaki may be a bit behind, but they have made some changes to the ZX-10R. We had the new Z900, so some nice things, you know, to really get to sink our teeth onto. But on Yamaha's side, since the disappearance of the MT-10 and the Yamaha R1 in the European market, because those machines are not sold anymore, I would say that the most powerful machine that we have is right now a CP3 bike, so MT-09, Tracer 9, R9. The CP3 is a good engine, of course, but maybe lacking a bit in terms of, you know, dream potential, and comparing to the other Japanese brands, which all have monsters going above 190 HP. When you are making motorcycles, you need to have a very, you know, down-to-earth lineup, something that is very logical, but at the same time you need to make people dream. And so we have here a very interesting article from Cara Desic, which is a French website, but you can translate it with Google, and it is kind of very readable. And last year we had something in May that was announced by Yamaha, kind of more like a patent that they made, which would probably go side to side with Honda's new V3R e-compressor. They announced that they were working on a supercharger for the 3-cylinder engine from the brand, so the CP3, with something that would be very close to what they were doing with Honda, like with an electric supercharger. So I'm sorry. So the main difference between the supercharger that you can find on like Kawasaki ZH2 or a Ninja H2 and an electric supercharger like you can find on the new Honda V3R e-compressor, or maybe this new version of the CP3, is the fact that you can really fine-tune the settings of the supercharger, and you don't need to have the engine starting the supercharger, the turbine. You can really start it with a dedicated electric small engine, and that allows the supercharger to be working at any kind of RPM value. And so that allows not only to have lots of torque if you want them right from the go, but also to really change the parameters of the way you make your supercharger work and so give very, very different profiles to the machine. So that's one of the things, and I really do think that if Yamaha should announce something new for their motorcycles, it needs to be now, because we have so many things that are going right now in the motorcycle industry. They must not get behind, and things are always starting to look bad for them. I really must admit that Yamaha is not in the best position as of now. So I would say that it is kind of important, in my opinion, for them to release something new. And there is something else, something that I'm gonna make a dedicated video about, because that is potentially something very, very big. It is an article from the Paddock GP website, which is also a French website, where you can have many interesting news, more specifically about MotoGP and competition, but from time to time they release things about like more road-oriented machines. And we got a Yamaha teaser that is super interesting. I'm just gonna tell you right from the go, take this with a grain of salt, because I didn't find this thing anywhere else but from the Paddock GP website. So what do they say in this teaser? They say, save the date, the industry has followed the same rhythm for long enough, we're ready to challenge it, something new is coming. And then they give us a date, 2 November 2026, 6 p.m. CET, Milan. So why Milan? Because of course they are talking about the EICMA motorcycle show, which I will be of course visiting and showing it to you guys. But on this specific announcement, they seem to be hinting to something really different. And so if we just take a bit more time to read what the article has to say. By announcing its intention to challenge the pace of an entire industry, Yamaha is not teasing a simple update, but is suggesting that it is about to unveil a true conceptual or technological revolution. And that is super important, guys, because saying things as strong as the industry has followed the same rhythm for long enough is really something that makes me think they are probably hiding something big. But at the same time, as I told you, Paddock GP is the only website where I found those informations. So we're gonna make a whole video dedicated to that. You will have it very soon. But at the same time, I would take this with a grain of salt. It is kind of important. Maybe you will have the video before this one, because I want to make this like kind of an urgent video. So you may have it like tomorrow morning and the Q&A video in the afternoon. So don't be surprised if the order is not the same. We will see. In the meantime, I would say that it could be very interesting to have a CP3 with a supercharger that could lead to a real race in this new kind of technology that Kawasaki introduced to the motorcycle world more than 10 years ago with the Ninja H2 and the H2R. So we will see. But if Yamaha is entering the fray to make big announcements from EICMA 2026, we will have one of the most memorable and iconic years of this motorcycle show. Believe me. Next question by HeMasterized7. Hello, I'm terrified by the idea of leaving my motorcycle alone. What anti-theft systems do you use? That's a very interesting question, and something that I think we can all identify with, because we are all scared of leaving our motorcycle alone. One of the main reasons is the fact that stealing a motorcycle is way easier than stealing any other kind of motorized vehicle. And so we always think on how we can protect our machine the best without getting too paranoid about it. And I would say that one of the first things I would do is to have a GPS tracker on your bike. I am here showing you the Monimoto website because I've worked with them some years ago, so it's one of the examples, but there are many others. You have GeoRide. Depending on the countries you are living in, there may be other solutions, other technologies, but this is kind of cool because You can really usually put this anywhere on your motorcycle, hide it if it has an integrated battery. If the motorcycle is moved, you will have a notification on your smartphone. Some of them are really, really good, even if your motorcycle is parked underground. So that can be a very good solution. I would say that the second thing I would do, if you are renting someplace, it can be a bit trickier, but if you have your motorcycle parked in some underground or like closed space, like a garage or parking box or anything like that, to have, you know, those metal rings directly put on the ground and a sturdy chain on your motorcycle. But there is something that I've always heard, and I really do think that it is true. If someone wants to steal your motorcycle, there is absolutely nothing that you can do to prevent it from happening 100%. Like if someone wants to steal your motorcycle, that person can reach its ends, can manage to do it, but you can slow that person down up to the point where it becomes either too dangerous or too long to steal the motorcycle, and so they may give up, and that will be, I think, your best scenario. But you cannot prevent 100% of theft on a motorcycle. And so I would say that the best solution, the real best solution to not be bothered anymore with your motorcycle being stolen, or at least being bothered the least, is to have a very, very solid insurance for your motorcycle, like the highest grade you can find with the best conditions. Even if you are paying a bit more, even if you are paying like 10 or 15 or 20 euros more or dollars more for your insurance, but to really protect you from that kind of things happening. Depending on where you are living, sometimes it's not necessary because you can be in a very quiet place, but even in the most remote and quietest places on earth, I know that people can steal your motorcycle. So I would say that it is probably the best solution, at least that I have, and the one that brings you the more serenity, I would say. Last question from BBZ Biker that asks us, hi, in your opinion, should we review the legislation regarding mandatory equipments for motorcycles with two wheels? And that is a super, super interesting question because at least in Europe and in France, the laws regarding what kind of equipment you must wear when riding a motorcycle are quite light. The only thing that you really need is a helmet and gloves that you are compliant with the European rules, but it basically stops there. And I really do think that you should need to have more things, because there are many people that start riding motorcycles and they tend to forget that you are on a very fragile vehicle, much more than any car you can drive. And of course, there are many things that are incredible with riding a motorcycle: the sense of freedom, the fact that you have a much higher, I would say, bang for speed or buck for speed ratio, so you can very quickly be, you know, a bit overcome by all the feelings you can have with a motorcycle. But as Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, you may guess that I've been watching the latest Spider-Man movie. With a great power comes great responsibility, and so I really do think that every motorcycle rider should equip himself or herself with the right equipment without waiting that things change in regard to the law. But still, I do think that a proper jacket, a proper like real be it a leather jacket or a fabric jacket, a standard fabric jacket, but at least with protections to the elbows, to the shoulders, to the back. That is something that is really important. That should be completely mandatory. That is something that I really do think we shouldn't absolutely not mess with. Regarding pants, maybe it could also be interesting to have, you know, protections for the hips and things like that, because usually you can have very bad damage if you have a motorcycle accident and you are not rightly protected, correctly protected. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is really the upper part of your body. Also to have nice shoes, because they can make a huge difference. Like really have good motorcycle riding shoes can really be interesting. I am showing here you the Furigan website, because I work with Furigan, so I am quite familiar with their products. Like those shoes, the Stockton Air, are super cool, and they are really, you know, pass through. They are not, you watch them, you watch something with them, you don't immediately think, oh, those are motorcycle shoes. So they are quite cool. And I must admit, I am quite tired to see people ride motorcycles with flip-flops and shorts, Bermudas, and wearing only a shirt. Those are things that are really not responsible. And I would say that even if you are not doing it for yourself, do it for people who love you, your family, your friends, because they don't want to see you in a state where you be almost unrecognizable. You can really lose some day-to-day abilities with a motorcycle accident if you are not properly protected. And there is also another thing, because we tend to, you know, say that motorcycling is like a family. It's a very passion-oriented industry, and so we are like a big family. Well, if you are thinking like that, if you also have that thought of thinking that all motorcycle riders are like a big family, well, one of the things that you can think about is that if you have an accident and if you are not correctly protected, your insurance is gonna reimburse you, refund you for the damage, but the less protected you are, the higher the damage are gonna be, and the more money the insurance is gonna spend on you. And when that happens, insurances are like a collaborative system. So if you have an accident, if you are a motorcycle crash, and they are compelled to pay more to refund all the damage you've got, like in the hospital and things like that, the prices of all the insurance policies from every motorcycle rider that subscribe to that specific insurance company are gonna rise. So it's not a very altruistic way of thinking. Find the reason you need, but please be correctly protected when you are riding your motorcycle. I don't care if it's hot. If it's hot, there are many ways to stay cool. There are many things that you can use, but not riding a motorcycle properly equipped with the reason that it is too hot outside is not an excuse for me, because there are too many risks, in my opinion. So that's the end of this first Q&A session, guys. I hope you liked it. Tell me in the comments if that's something that you would like to see more of. And of course, if you have questions, go to Instagram, go to my Rodsters TV account. It's very easy to find, and you will see every Monday, Tuesday, depending on the time. Sometimes I forget to put the story on Monday, but you can find the story with the Q&A form, and you can post your questions. Even if it's in English, I will read them, and then I can answer them directly in this feed. And I would be very happy to be directly answering native English questions rather than translating the French ones. But yeah, still tell me in the comments, what do you think about these kind of videos? And in the meantime, stay safe, enjoy riding, see you.